Even if you haven't seen Grease yourself, you've definitely heard of the 1978 version of the popular musical. This Australian singer's sweet voice and gorgeous appearance made her one of the most popular stars in the 70s. That's why her death came as a shock to all of us. In this video, we'll talk about Richard Wilkins, a longtime TV show host paying tribute to Olivia, who was a good friend of his. First off, how did Olivia die? The actress who plays Sandy in Grease fought a long and painful battle with breast cancer before finally dying at the age of 73. She first discovered she had the disease in 1992, and of course, it was treated back then. But the remission period didn't last forever. Still, we've got to appreciate her strength because she managed to fight it off again in 2013. Unfortunately, when it came back last year, she'd run out of luck, and things got pretty bad, like advanced stage 4 bad. At this point, her friends and family knew in their gut that their beloved Olivia was fighting a losing battle, but Wilkins said they weren't prepared to lose her, so it was a shock when she died. Second, Wilkins' reaction when he found out. In an interview, Richard decided to share his grief with us, and that must have been difficult, because it's clear that his friend's death broke his heart. He said he was having trouble processing that she was gone, and couldn't believe it when he received the phone call informing him of her death. Of course, given her previous success with fighting the disease, it's clear that her friends and family had hoped that she'd pull through again somehow. At first, Wilkins couldn't bring himself to talk. He didn't know how to respond to it at all. He ended up breaking down during the interview. It was so overwhelming that even his co-host started sobbing, and Richard said that he didn't feel ready for this even though it was only right that he should be the one talking about her death. We can't imagine the pain he must be going through. Olivia was truly extraordinary, as he said, and her death is a huge loss to the entertainment industry. Moving on, what was their friendship like? Wilkins reflected on their long-time friendship. He told us that they'd keep in touch almost every day, and recently their kids had appeared on Dancing with the Stars together, which was literally just last year. Of course, we understand that it's hard to imagine that someone you're close to has suddenly passed away. He fondly talked about last year, saying they were proud of their kids while sitting together in the audience, and she teared up while watching them. He also went on to talk about Olivia's entire legacy. Of course, as an actress in one of the most classic musicals, she impacted many people's lives. Wilkins told us that this impact was positive, and that anyone lucky enough to get to know her only received good things, because she was generous and made time for everyone. Plus, this caring woman also made sure to sign off her emails with much love. She just wanted to radiate positivity into the world, all of which makes her death even more tragic. So, how did the two first meet? He also wanted to talk about how they'd first met, just as a sort of tribute to her life and the time that he'd gotten to spend with her. Apparently, the two first met each other at a shopping center in Sydney, where Wilkins was hosting a meet and greet. Olivia was there to promote a record of hers at the mall. They were, coincidentally, in the same mall and at the same record shop. So naturally, they ended up talking, and as they talked, they realized that they really enjoyed each other's company. The conversation flowed easily, and their bond quickly became solid. Plus, he's also dated her niece at one point, which practically made them as close as family. He's still just numb and trying to collect his thoughts to properly remember his dear friend. Then he ended on an emotional note that moved us all to tears. He said that the world had lost a beautiful person and singer, who'd even donated to the Cancer Research Center in Melbourne. She'd left a huge impact of positivity and encouragement on people dealing with terminal illnesses. And of course, the impact would last long after her death. Wilkins wanted us to know that his friend was brave to the very end, almost superhuman, and that this courage was what made patients around her feel like they had a chance of recovering too. Finally, let's take a minute to honor her legacy. Not only did Olivia Newton-John appear in a musical film that stayed popular for 4 decades, but she's also managed to win almost 4 Grammy Awards and has sold almost 100 million albums. You couldn't sleep on her talent at all. Even after Grease, she was in many high-budget films like Xanadu with Gene Kelly. Even when the movie didn't do well, the soundtrack did. Her songs would quickly become #1 hits, not just in Australia, but also throughout the world. It's been decades since Olivia was at the peak of her career, but some people aren't easily forgotten, and we definitely think she's one of them. And here's some other related news news you might have missed out on. First off, apparently she was looking forward to her death. Some people just aren't scared to die, and Olivia was one of them. She believed so strongly in spirits that she'd once said that she was looking forward to life after death. Like, let's be real, she fought cancer for almost 30 years. By this time, she'd made her peace with the possibility of dying. We can't imagine the kind of courage that must take. In the podcast interview, she said that everyone would die someday, and there was no point living in denial. She believed strongly that spirits had already visited her in the waking world, and believed that people found a lot of loving energy in the afterlife. She expected to receive all the affection of the people she loved there. Now that she's passed, it's relieving to know that she didn't die painfully. It's been confirmed that she died peacefully at home, exactly as she'd wanted. She was surrounded by the people who loved her. Of course, Newton also managed the pain of the illness with the use of medical marijuana, which means that thankfully she wasn't in too much pain towards the end of her life. Second, Olivia is going to get a state funeral. When someone has had as much of a positive impact as this actress did, they deserve recognition and respect for it in their death. That's why Olivia's family decided to accept the offer of a state funeral. Her husband, John Easterling, discussed her contribution to the Cancer Research Center in more detail. He said that she'd managed to start a lot of great steps towards plant-based medication for those battling cancer. Olivia's death came as a loss to the whole of Australia, and many people will mourn her. Even Victoria's Premier, who offered the state funeral in the first place, said that he wanted that kind of funeral because he couldn't deny that she'd inspired and filled a lot of patients with hope. The lawmaker said that the research that Olivia's done at the Wellness Center into treatment, care, and providing support to patients was a big part of her long-lasting legacy and of the success of that place. Finally, even John Travolta had kind words for his former co-star. Travolta, who acted alongside Olivia in the musical, took to social media to share his respects and how he was feeling. He wrote that he wanted everyone to respect the family's privacy at this time because they were obviously grieving, and they needed that time to process the loss. He wrote that he loved and missed her, and she'd positively impacted him and the rest of the world. Like the others, he also mentioned her contribution to plant-based healing alternatives at the research center she's funded. He wasn't the only one either. A lot of celebrities shared their grief on Twitter. Kylie Minogue wrote that she'd always looked up to the actress and was deeply saddened by her death. Rod Stewart, who's another friend of the actress, pointed that she was a gorgeous woman and a great actress who left a huge impact on the fashion world too, with her spandex trousers trend. Even the famous Mariah Carey had some thoughts to share. She'd always looked up to the actress because of her beautiful singing voice. Carey mentioned that she loved magic, and suddenly in particular. She'd even dressed up as Bad Sandy for a Halloween thing. It was a huge moment in her life when she finally got the opportunity to attend one of Olivia's concerts. From what everyone said so far, she was a great actress and singer, but an even better human being. She worked long and hard to support others despite having such a hard time herself. Rest in peace, Olivia. You'll be missed. That's a wrap for this video. What's your favorite Olivia Newton-John track? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.